There are several reasons to claim the importance of the Second World War. This war itself ended 80 million lives in less than 6 long years of bloody combat. These millions suffered what no person should endure for centuries to come. I know a lot of people suffered during the war. I assure you, you can pick up a book and read as much as World War II history and still try to understand this tragic event. But that is all you're reading, history, the dates and places that have no attachment to the human side of the war. For instance, if you read about a long list of casualties, all you'll see is numbers, not a single name of the deceased. Just a huge number with no attachment. My understanding of the war changed drastically when I read For Volk und Führer by Erwin Bartmann, a World War II veteran who served on the Eastern Front. Yes, he was a German soldier, but here's the twist. Erwin Bartmann was a Waffen-SS soldier. I know enough from pop culture that anyone who was associated with the Waffen-SS is the most evil person in existence. However, his memoir is legit. A poor boy who joined the Waffen-SS to escape a meaningless life and to find pride in his own. His book also shows some good information about the Waffen-SS. Basically, his writer of the book just wanted his story. His adventure is a story that should be a movie, one that doesn't have a lot of action and violence, but the experience of living during that time. Especially for being a German serving in his people's war against the Soviets. I highly recommend reading this book if you have the time. Believe it or not, I had to buy this book outside the States. My main point is that you should see the war from different perspectives, from different people, from different walks of life. Seeing the war from actual people. A Waffen-SS soldier, a NAVO code talker, a woman from Berlin, a group of shadows in the jungle, and a kid named Sledgehammer. These stories are from real people who have an attachment on how the war affected these people in different ways. An attachment of the human heart and soul. I know I'm going all Kingdom Hearts, but stay with me on this. The war is important because it has affected millions of lives from different walks of life all across the world. A deep attachment that transcends time. I feel that the youth has no attachment to World War II. Surprising. In government school, we are taught the Allied version of World War II. The Germans were evil monsters, the Soviets were the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were justified, which it totally was. This is just a typical narrative that is constantly being pushed in public schools. It's getting to a point where the younger generation have this delusion that the Trump administration is a close resemblance of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich.
Your hat and the way it makes people feel because it incites fear in all those around us. Every person is afraid of that hat. I'm afraid of that hat. Keep America great. For so many people, that's racism.
Yeah, but that's because of the mainstream media's narrative that's painted Donald Trump as a racist. I don't agree with the narrative. I'm out here to try.
The fact of the matter is that I have found my meaning of the war by no longer following the same narrative. Once you dig into information that fascinates you, it will become your passion, more like an obsession, honestly. This is a reason why World War II is important. It just wasn't another war. This war changed millions of lives and millions yet to be born. A small European conflict that ignited into a full-scale conflict that nearly laid waste to Western civilization. Erwin Bartmann's story just reveals how devastating the war was in those last days of the Third Reich. The information from his book revealed how human he was to the end of the war. I never fully realized that until I read his memoir. For instance, why should I take the words of the enemy so seriously? Why should I care of the story for one man who fought on the side of the enemy? These questions negate the fact that he witnessed the destruction firsthand. Erwin Bartmann is one of many who survived the war and was impacted by it after. This argument isn't just out of emotion, but to preserve historical fact. a factor mainstream media neglects to inform the general public. If we lose sight of the importance of the Second World War, then we are more prone to see another one rise and disregard its terrible lessons. Or worse, disregard the stories of those who survived. Hopefully this brings some clarity on why I talk about World War II on a consecutive level, and how I powerfully emphasize its importance. It's a subject I want to expand upon on this channel, to a point where a younger generation will realize how another war like this should never happen again. The many lives that were lost as a result of the war should be a memorial for the next generation. A memorial that has a human attachment for generations to come.